From unskippable cutscenes to endless grinding that do not serve much purpose as there's no worthwhile endgame challenge. Well, I guess they changed that, but in a questionable way from what I heard. Declining player engagement, no worthwhile improvement in years, and increasing competition. I can't help but wonder, is Genshin Impact still evolving? Or is this just milking its fanbase? Also, considering the impact
oh, brother, this guy stinks!
It's having on gaming, mostly gacha gaming, and how it has whole communities up each other's throats, making said communities toxic, and for some players actually calling for the head of Genshin Impact, one kinda has to ask themselves the question, should Genshin Impact actually die? The answer to this question is unfortunately not black or white, and that's why I'm making this video. But first, sponsor time. Sponsored or not, LD Shop is actually a service I've actually been using, believe it or not. Being a gacha player in the European continent comes with its fair share of disadvantages.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man.
But thanks to LD Shop, that's no longer an issue. LD Shop not only gives you the ability to buy products for cheap, but also gives you the ability to gift your friends with ease. You don't need access to their account, you can just have the UID and bada bee bada boom. You can actually do that. If I go over here to Honkai Star Rail, for example, you will notice here that all you need is the server and game UID. Like, you know what server they're playing, you get their game UID, which you can easily obtain through them, being friends with you in the game. And you can surprise them one day with like an in-game purchase if you so desire, especially for streamers and content creation or giveaway or tournaments, whatever. This is an amazing service that easily gives you the ability to basically send out rewards to all the participants, which is always great. I've used this service a lot. How to use it is simple. For example, I'm going to go with Honkai Star Rail. There's the Fate collab, and apparently we're going to have a skip button now, which is always awesome. So you just go here, right? There's limited express pass. You can pick your server. I'm gonna go Europe. You can enter your game UID here. After you enter your UID, you just click top up. They'll give you this menu, pay now. It's that simple. You gotta understand something real quick, ladies and gentlemen, is that I have already store credit, right? So if you have store credit, it eases your purchase. That way, you don't have to use and enter your credit information every time. And boom, pay delivery. You just wait for the delivery, and it's really that simple, to be honest with you. Typically, they're almost instant. Let's see. There it is. Huge thanks to LD Shop for sponsoring this video. It feels good to be sponsored by something you always use. It definitely feels good. Let's get back to the video. Now, to answer this question, we have to look at the layers that make up the issues the players have with Genshin Impact. Now, said issues would give me a black look at Genshin Impact, which would make this answer easy if it wasn't for my history with Genshin Impact. Hundreds of hours, spending, the wishes, saving, the lore, the community. Well, parts of the community. And to be honest, the part that I found was 70% positive experience. I'll be completely honest.
And I'm not lying!
But despite all of the positives I just listed, unfortunately, some things just made that love dissipate and become very questionable to keep feeling the way I felt towards the game, which has me in a very conflicted state vis-a-vis Genshin Impact. Now, putting my bias aside vis-a-vis Genshin Impact, we're going to be looking at this as critically as possible so that we can answer the question, should Genshin Impact die? Let's start off with the first layer that makes up the problem of answering the question, the community. The Genshin Impact community is a very questionable one because let's look at the factions. You have the first faction, which is the passionate players. These are your cosplayers, your fan arters, the enjoyers. They're just out here enjoying this hobby that is Genshin Impact. They just love it. And it's what you typically expect from any community of a video game or any form of media, really. And that's a beautiful thing. Makes the game and title and the media feel more than it is. It's always incredible.
It's a beautiful thing.
But unfortunately, that gets put into question when it comes to the overall name of the Genshin Impact community because of the second faction that is the overly positive / toxic bunch. These players love the game way too much, to a toxic degree. These are the type of players that just are against any type of criticism towards their game, which wouldn't be bad if it wasn't for their personal attacks as well, because you gotta understand, this doesn't stop at them just laughing at you in the reply section or a comment section or saying, oh, why don't you just leave my game alone or something like that. No. These guys will dig up stuff in your personal life. They will throw personal attacks. They will bully you. They will have you in their radar, and they will actively make it their life's mission to make your life worse and worse. Why? Because you just happen to challenge some perception that they have because of rose-tainted filters in their eyes about a video game. Let that sink in for a minute.
Y'all are trash.
And the last faction, of course, is the critics. Now, there's two subcategories to the critics. There's the gamer that is still playing Genshin Impact, but is still critical towards Genshin Impact, especially towards the practices and the pace of which the qualities of life do come to the game, but still play the game regardless, despite all these issues, because they are hoping that passion they once had for the game could come back, or they have sunk cost fallacy where they spent a lot of time in this game and would feel like it's been a waste of time if they are to just quit now, or the most likely scenario, they're bored. They just use this game for 15-30 minutes a day. Why the hell not? It is what it is. The next sub-faction is the ex-Genshin Impact players. Now, you may be raising your eyebrows and wondering, why would an ex-Genshin Impact player still be part of the Genshin Impact community? That doesn't make any sense. Like, you quit, you're not part of this anymore. Well, these are players that still have passion for Genshin Impact. They still remember the good old days. They're like that ex-boyfriend or girlfriend that is just still has sentiment towards their ex, but they know better than to get back with them in the state they are in. But unfortunately, the toxic faction look at these guys like they just want death upon Genshin Impact. They genuinely think those critics are sticking around Genshin Impact like,
I'm gonna make sure you did. Then I'm gonna celebrate. For the first time in my life, I'm gonna be truly happy. I'm gonna have some balloons and some ice cream and cake for your motherfucking funeral. Then I'm gonna put some cement over your grave, so even if the dead come back to life, like in them zombie movies, your ass ain't gonna be nowhere.
Now that we have listed all the factions we have in the Genshin community, it's time to ask the question, what's the problem with the Genshin community? What's going on? Well, of course, it's faction 2, the toxic bunch that make it their life's mission to ruin someone's life because of their opinion towards a video game, because how dare you criticize my thing, is obviously just not good behavior that is gonna push and deter people from even associating with Genshin Impact. Trust me, I have seen that. I have heard that. People literally saying, I cannot be caught dead playing Genshin Impact. I still play it, but I gotta play it privately. I cannot play it outside in the public in my phone because I do not want people to see me playing that, because they might associate me with that bunch of people. And why would people do that? Why would they associate you directly with that toxic bunch for just playing a video game? Because unfortunately, the way things work is, if a community cannot get rid of its bad apples, that community will become defined by them. And the problem with the toxic bunch extends even more, besides just you trying to share your passion with other players within the Genshin Impact community. It makes the problem of the second layer even harder to crack, and that is, of course, the developer practices. Now, the developer practices are not as black and white as the Genshin community side, because whilst you have good apples and bad apples, and it's just the minority that's just basically defining what the community is, the practices that developers of Genshin Impact do are just ass, dog. As in, they do not seek to evolve, they do not try to compete with what's going on in the market. They are still utilizing the fact that they have the bigger name to milk as much as possible from its player base, which in my opinion is a bad thing, as it sends a signal towards other companies that if you make it to the top, this is the way to do it. You can get away with it. We are proof of that. You will always have a bunch of toxic minority that will define your community, that will have critics shut up and think twice before even saying anything remotely negative towards your game, and you can utilize that as a shield to do whatever the hell you want to do. If you are at the top of the food chain, if you are this huge name, you can get away with this type of stuff. These idiots will keep eating anything you throw at them because they're just hungry for more, whatever it is. And it's sad to see, because you think to yourself that the more these developers have resources, the more tools they can have in their arsenal to make it an even better game. And don't even get me started on the gacha system, the qualities of life within the game. The game just feels like it could be more. We all sense it. We all know it. They're just refusing for it to be more because, well, corporate agenda. And if you play gacha games exclusively, Genshin Impact being on the top of the food chain and doing what it's doing is going to make any type of developers that have success within their community attempt to do the same thing Genshin Impact is doing. We're seeing that already, by the way. Which begs the question, should Genshin Impact actually die so that we can have other titles that are having developers do somewhat better towards their players than them and could create a better space for us gacha players? Now to answer the question, should Genshin Impact die? There's actually two parts to this question. Should Genshin Impact, as in the practices that it does, die? Yes, they should. Should Genshin Impact, the game, die? The answer is no. Because whether you like it or you don't like it, Genshin Impact is still a decent game. It's not as bad as people like to make it out to be. Especially for someone that has a limited understanding to gaming, or someone you're trying to get into gaming by playing something somewhat simple and isn't mechanically demanding. Genshin Impact is a good gateway for starter gamers. Something like Wuthering Waves could be overwhelming to some, especially if you're new to gaming. I mean, it feels normal to us because we grew up with games, but if you're not, it can be pretty rough. I once tried to have this ex-girlfriend play video games. She never played video games. I was giving her Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. She just, it was very hard for her. She's like, it's too fast. It's this, it's that. And then I thought to myself, how about you play this game? And I gave her Genshin Impact. It was like, it's kind of fun. Yeah, okay. I think I'm doing things. She felt like she was actually performing. She was actually doing good. And a lot of the times people ignore the fact that when you play a game, you just want to feel like you're performing, like you're doing well. You just want to feel better about yourself. That's what typically games do for you. Let's call it for what it is, okay?
I'm just being honest with you.
Whilst Genshin Impact leaves a lot to be desired for gamers, Genshin Impact does give a lot for someone that's just looking for a game that's mechanically easy and is an easy pickup for someone that's just trying to explore a open world title that isn't overwhelming in its approach. Genshin Impact is a game that is designed for players to have a simple yet satisfying experience. To be honest, it was a good introduction for me personally for the gacha scene. It was a decent experience. It always left more to be desired. And because of its presence, I now have games that I truly enjoy, that I can play for free until you start to want more characters and you start spending before you realize it. But that's a topic for another time. So whether you like it or you don't like it, Genshin Impact is a necessary evil. It is, man. It is. So should Genshin Impact die? No, it shouldn't die. It just shouldn't. Just like mosquitoes shouldn't die because I'm pretty sure they contribute to something in the goddamn ecosystem. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I'm pretty sure they matter. So, yeah.
Tired of this shit!
To be honest, I've been thinking about this topic for some time now. I'm glad to finally have it. And yeah, that's the video. Let's have a civilized conversation in the comments below. I see some of you guys. I see some of you passionate players, man. I'm really proud of the space and how it's becoming, but we still have some ways to go, man. We still have some ways to go.
See ya.